Hello, everyone, and welcome to another Fuel the Conversation, a podcast for fuel people by fuel people. I'm Freddie Riddler, and joining me today, again, Kyle Sheehan. Kyle, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great, Freddie. We're starting to get some cold weather coming into the United States. Everyone's starting to gear up to hopefully make some money and have a successful winter here. And I'd like to introduce, we have a guest with us today, David Stewart, who's been a longtime family friend of ours, been using the RCC package probably longer than I've been even employed here at RCC. So me and Dave have gotten to know each other really well through benchmarking, through implementing handhelds together, through doing some trainings, and most recently moving on from our classic dispatching manager into our new DM. How are you doing today, Dave?
Doing well. I really appreciate you telling everybody how old I am.
Hey, I'm losing hair just as fast as you are, I think.
All right, thank you. It's the lighting in my office.
That's it.
It's an interesting conversation to kick off because I kind of learned how dispatching and forecasting worked because of customers like Dave when I first started. Sorry to age us 18 years ago. Sorry, Dave. But I remember Dave would always send me an email once a year saying, hey, I had, a half a dozen or a dozen runouts. Tell me why. And I would always expect that email from Dave and his team, and I would have to research all of them. So with that, it was kind of a great way for me to really dive deep into our forecasting system. So, Dave, why don't you tell us a little bit about you? Your position, the company you work for, and we'll kind of go from there.
Sure. Hey, I'm David Stewart. I'm 25 years in with Heartland Propane. We service Kansas, Missouri, and Oklahoma, just a small portion of Missouri and a small portion of Oklahoma, but we run up the east side of Kansas and the western side of Missouri. We've been running RCC for approximately, like you guys said, 23, 24 years. I do all of our dispatching. I manage our company, and I have for almost 20 years as well. Like Freddie said, we've really evolved along the way from just DM to new DM to MOGO. And so currently we're running as much as I think we can on the dispatching portion of what RCC has to offer. They about had to pull me over to new DM because I wasn't going to leave old DM because of the forecasting portion of the temperature. And finally, I think I talked these two into getting that put into new DM so I could move over. But by the time I finally moved over, the 3 hours it took me to dispatch on Friday went to about just a matter of minutes to get those deliveries pulled in. So they were right, but my being hard-headed getting there was probably the way to go.
So I'm sure you've seen a lot of transitions over the years between maybe processes in the office, new programs coming out that help your everyday life in dispatching. What has been, in your mind, one of the best improvements to routing, scheduling, forecasting, and dispatching in your time and experience in the industry?
Well, that's probably a multi-part question because I have been around long enough. Initially, when we were here, my first years, we just had people's name written on a piece of paper. And the driver would figure out where they were going for the day. We're so far from that today, I can't even remember that. And so, MOGO, though, in the past 10 years was probably our biggest change in addition. And the reason we went to MOGO was that we needed a way to get everything paperless. We had a whole bunch of paperless things on tablets but it wasn't synced together with RCC, and we had to have that. And when MOGO came along and you guys got the bugs worked out of MOGO, we needed the service work orders to sync in. We needed the deliveries to sync in. We needed to be able to send those deliveries. So MOGO was our biggest change that helped us get over that hump of routing, I would say.
Awesome. And Dave, you said something that I wrote down: 3 hours to a matter of minutes. One of the things that we wanted to do when we rewrote Dispatch Manager was to save time. The head programmer, Jared, who did all the work behind the scenes, when I showed him the old prep, he said, "There's a lot of steps." I said, "Right? There's a lot of steps to tell you who needs that delivery." Hearing 3 hours to minutes, that was our goal with DM, is to bring it all into one screen and just stop with the time, because you don't get time back. Do you want to talk a little more about the 3 hours to minutes and give us some weigh in on that a little bit?
Sure. The process of 3 hours sometimes was more like 5 hours too, sometimes, because if I wasn't working in our home office and I would VPN in, the connection would fail, and then I'd have to go start over. That could be a little what you call frustrating. Uh, there was probably another term for it, but frustrating is what I'll use here today. Yeah, the prep portion is that we would have to go through and prep so much. There were so many steps to the prepping that by the time you got there, got who you needed to pull out the customers that owed you money onto a grid report, those type of things, it was so tedious that it would take me 3 to 4 hours to get the process done. Where today in new DM, the box pops up, I pop the few things I want to see come up in my date range, add my temperatures I want to add, and it gives me my deliveries. And I mean, it's a matter of, I can have that done in 5 minutes. And so the process of the just getting there with the deliveries is just night and day in comparison to what Classic was to new DM.
That's awesome. Awesome to hear. We love to hear those stories about how you're getting to your family sooner, you're getting some stress off of your plate, and that's what programs and software should do. So I'm going to say you're not the only stubborn person out in the world, right? I think it's full of people that are stubborn and reluctant to move off of old processes. So even today, when we're talking to customers, when we're at benchmarking, when we're out into the industry, we hear a lot of companies that still use route cards and still have the drivers build their own route for the day, be responsible for who they're going to go to, and make sure that a customer doesn't run out. That's a lot of things to put onto a driver. In your opinion, what was the hardest? I'm going to make you remember all the way back. What was the hardest thing and maybe the area you had to consider the most when moving from a driver-based routing system to more of a centralized office-based routing system?
That's a pretty easy one as well. Those guys felt like they were losing control.
Mm.
Mrs. Jones knew that he needed to go there every third Thursday or whatever. They no longer had that, and to trust the system to make sure they weren't going to go out at midnight. Who wants to be out at midnight as a delivery person? Who wants to be out at Christmas? I can remember some of them first years that our process wasn't good and we were out working at night on the weekends. Now we're not there. We know the integration too of monitors have with you guys has been a huge asset to us. And so we've got so many monitors running that we can see that, and it integrates right into RCC. And so when I'm pulling my deliveries, I can see those customers. I can be proactive too on some of those heavy users where I couldn't be in the past. And so that has been a huge push for us as well.
So you talk about remote sensors. That's a topic of a discussion for this year. There's a big push of remote sensors all over the place. And, you said it, paired up with RCC's forecasting. What are some of the benefits of having both reliable software to forecast along with some technology of a remote sensor on someone's location? What are some of those benefits to have both?
So right now I've got about 1,505 monitors running as of this morning. My drop size, this is our first year really of getting a good monitor in place to integrate with you guys. I think our drop size has already increased something like almost 40 gallons
Wow.
from July till now. And so we haven't even been in a winter period yet. And so our number of deliveries are down significantly too, but our gallons are about the same as they've been over the years. And so that has been a huge, that's just huge for us to the efficiency portion of that. When you look at what those trucks cost you nowadays and what that driver costs you nowadays and that fuel, everything that goes along with that maintenance of that truck, if we can reduce some miles on that truck, that's the way to go.
It's the name of the game, isn't it? Reduce the miles, and then it's tough to find a driver, so you got to make sure that the guy you have is getting the most. You're getting the most out of him that you possibly can. And that's where the technology comes into place.
If we can go to that customer 2 times versus 4 times or 5 times in a year, I feel like we've won. And so it doesn't always work as flawlessly as we want, but man, things are so much better than they were 20 years ago from the technology we've put in place.
So, Dave, I have a question for you. If the viewers or listeners, however they're accessing this podcast, say to themselves, we're still using 20-year-old technology, what's the first step that we need to take to pull in software, pull in a remote sensor, pull in these ways to become more efficient? Because that's kind of a buzzword since I started till now, is efficiencies and optimal drops. What would you tell our viewers that are watching this right now? What's that first step to take if they're still doing route cards and paper tickets?
Again, that's been so long ago, I'm probably not going to be the best person to tell you, but if you're not with RCC, you need to get with somebody that's going to give you that kind of software for sure and support. But you guys can integrate those customers right into RCC, correct? Remind me, I haven't done it forever. Mm-hmm. And so that would be the step, is just getting the degree day turned on, getting it moved into a degree day type of program, or however they want to set it up. In my opinion, you've got to start somewhere. Mm-hmm. Even if it's half your customers, a quarter of your customers, whatever, you got to start. And so once you get that start, you just continue to roll. And you know what? Maybe your game would be monitors instead of degree day. Go out and buy yourself a set of monitors and integrate it into RCC. So there you go. You don't even have to work on degree day. Mm-hmm. Wouldn't it be awesome to have 100% of your customers have a monitor, and it just integrates right into you guys? You go and go into new DM, pull them out, and they say, here, this is where you got to be today. And you know exactly that you're going to have to get those customers.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, that'd be an awesome thing to have going on. And I know there's a big financial commitment when you do that. So you said you have about 1,505 monitors out there today. Can you walk us through what your thought process is on what customer is best to receive this monitor versus, they might be okay because I really like their degree day charts and everything in RCC. I might not need to put one there.
So I probably did not go completely just looking at the chart. I went with customer owned tanks. No, I'm sorry, with Heartland owned tanks. I put a monitor. We started with those. And that's where we're at today. And so we could move forward to customer-owned tanks, but we haven't got there yet. I feel like the 1,500 we've installed this year was a good start. And so maybe next year we'll move forward. But we do look at a lot of swimming pools, people that use wood, big commercial accounts, anything that's kind of not have degree day, we do install them on them as well. Or the ones we've had trouble with in the past.
Perfect. And how much time do you put into your degree day maintenance in a given year? For somebody that's not on it, they know that they want degree days, but they don't really know what it all entails. Since you're pretty well and established, 15 plus years on a degree day system, you have all that history in there. How long on average do you think you spend analyzing and maintaining degree day accounts?
Very little. What has changed for us, though, this year is we continue to grow north. Our degree days are different as our company grows. So we're so far apart from our home office. We used to pull all of our degree days here from our home office for all of our locations. This year I got with you guys and made a change. So we have 2 degree day locations now. So we can pull off our northern and our southern and give it a more accurate degree days for those customers that don't have a monitor in place. And so what we're seeing already is, as winter just gets here, is those degree days up north are significantly more. And so I'm trying to reduce that customer for that run out for some of those new customers for sure that we don't have that history on. And so that's been a big change this year. And how we pull that, you're probably gonna tell me better than I know, but how we pull that information from other locations other than our home office has been really convenient too, because we don't have to worry about somebody inputting that information wrong, or when we're not here, not getting that information for 3 or 4 days, like a holiday or something like that.
Oh, I saw. Are you using the automatic upload?
We
Yep.
are.
Perfect. Yeah, and that's a great tool. Because you're right. If you're asking someone to key something in manually, there could be user error. So why not just have it done automatically? Where, like you said, it's a holiday, you're gone for 4 days, you come in. The last thing you want to worry about is going back 4 days, figuring out the temperatures and loading it in. It's all ready to go. You can do what you do, dispatch tickets, and get your drivers on the road. I'm going to ask you a question, and we kind of answered it in a couple different ways already. But why is it so important to have efficiencies at your office and that optimal drop to you? Like why for all the viewers and listeners out there, why is it so important that you are getting that optimal drop, that full fill of a tank?
I would say it's just that cost, what it cost our company to run. If we can utilize that tank that's in the field to its optimal fill, and we're not going back multiple times a year just to put 30% in that tank, if we can actually get 60 to 70% in that tank, that's what we're going for. There's ways to help our customers too pay for that drop, and so they don't have to pay for it in a big way. Right when it comes in Christmas, they can pay for it throughout the year. But we are getting there and giving them a delivery. They're not out of gas, and it's as efficient as we can get.
That plays really big into safety as well, doesn't it, Dave? Making sure somebody doesn't run out and putting that. Again, I go back to trying to reduce as much pressure, stress, and mistakes a driver can make, right? And if you keep the tank full, it's one less thing that individual has to be responsible over to make sure before he fills it, he's doing the correct safety checks.
Or I can remember years ago too, we'd start out the day by people would be calling in the morning, I'm out of gas, I need gas. That urgency of everybody having to try to figure out what they were going to get accomplished for the day and then finish up at the night. We're not there anymore. Things are smooth in the mornings. We don't have that urgent, we've got to be here, we've got to be there. We just start our routes, get them done for the day.
Mm-hmm.
There, of course, is a few hiccups here and there, but it's not like it used to be for sure.
Awesome. Well, Dave, we're going to kind of wrap this up, and if Kyle has any last final things to say, but I want to end this with a shout out. This is your opportunity to give a shout out to anyone at RCC that you like working with or have worked with. Any good Susie stories? Because next year our seminar, it's a kickoff to Susie. We're going to be not losing, but our CEO is stepping down. So next year's seminar, June 17th to the 20th. I'm going to plug it real quick. Please come to our seminar. It's a great 3.5-day training session to meet all of RCC staff and benchmark off other employees. But Dave, do you have any shout outs you like to make about RCC or any staff? Or got a good story?
Freddie, I really like to harass you when I see you, if I'm going to be honest. Is that pretty honest?
Yeah, you could be as honest as you want. It's
fine. Susie took me to a ball game in Atlanta one year, and that's had to be, any idea how long ago that was?
I was there. 10 years ago.
Opening day, and we were
Opening
in
day.
Atlanta, and that was awesome. I remember that trip. But I've seen you guys in Reno several times. Like you say, I'm in Benchmark, and so we catch up at Benchmark. And what's great about both of you guys is that I'm usually pretty honest with you and tell you truthfully what I think about your product. And if I have an issue, we talk about it and get it resolved. And I don't work with a lot of companies that I feel I have that rapport with. And so I do appreciate that about you guys. But as for the staff, I've never ran across somebody in your staff that has been bad or I've had an issue with. And so I shout out to the whole staff. How about that?
Awesome. Well, Dave, I just want to say personally, thank you for being such a close friend, an advocate to the industry. I love listening to you talk when we're at Benchmark. I love seeing you around the industry, and we sent a couple people your way just to kind of give them some advice and some help. And I know that you're willing to do that for others as well, which is a big compliment to who you are as an individual. So thank you so much for your time today.
You bet, guys. Hey, good seeing you.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you for joining Kyle and Freddie's podcast, Fuel the Conversation.
A podcast for fuel people by fuel people. We really hope you enjoyed today's topics and you found them interesting, and we hope that you pulled some value out of our conversation today.
To hear more podcasts from Kyle, myself, and special guests, you can catch us on Spotify, Amazon Music, or the iTunes Store.
To find out more information on RCC, you can visit our website, www.rccbi.com. You can also find us on Facebook under Rural Computer Consultants, also under LinkedIn under Rural Computer Consultants, or go ahead and give us a follow on Twitter at RCCInc79.
If you'd like to contact us directly, email us at sales@rccbi.com.
This is Kyle signing off.
And this is Freddie.
Until next time.